Welcome back, everybody. That Graboid tour has concluded. We now press forward in our quest to review as many movies as we can before we die.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you all enjoyed the new intro trailer that I recently put up for the official name for this series, John. John, what is the name of this series?
We are calling ourselves Nerd-Vana.
Yes, and thanks to everyone who voted on Facebook a couple months back, I think it was.
Yeah, all three of you. Of course.
But thank you for voicing your opinions. We went with it, and I think it has a nice ring to it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and also huge congratulations to Ian for putting the trailer together.
Thank you for your guidance.
Oh, you're welcome. I honestly liked your part of the trailer. It looked very adventurous, very Indiana Jones-like.
What can I say? I'm a paleo enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
But if I demonstrated by the title of this episode, this is our first remake we are reviewing.
Uh-huh. Oh boy. Yeah, and it's a remake of RoboCop. And it's gonna be hard because we gave the original one so much praise. Oh boy, and so it's kind of hard to. It's gonna be a little hard to compare the remake to the original. But we'll try our best. Well, I don't know about you, Ian. I can speak for myself. I'll try my best to try to give this film its due credit.
Yeah, I think I can do that fairly well. I mean, I've thought quite a bit about how and what I'm gonna say about this film.
Mm-hmm.
Because just some quick basics about the actual film itself, and comparing it to the original. The original film is rated R.
Yes.
The remake is PG-13.
And there's a little bit, and there is some behind-the-scenes trivia about that, which we will get to later. But
yeah.
Before we actually press onward, I'd like to apologize in advance to viewers and listeners for any sniffling that I'll do. I am just getting over a cold. We are, after all, in November right now, and winter is coming.
Yes. So, and I'm suffering from allergies, so we're a mess.
Well, we'll get through it. And actually, that would have been a good segue to go into. That's sort of kind of what this movie is. It's a little bit of a mess, at least production-wise.
Okay, so you want to just do our basic setup?
Our basic setup is, we'll do that. The basic setup is, it pretty much just follows the same plot as the original one. Alex Murphy, who is a good cop, is then killed in the line of duty, and is then put into a program that gives him a cybernetic skeleton, and now he's like the super cop. And of course, along the way, he starts to uncover the mystery of his murder. So it has some of the same little bits of themes from the original, like man versus machine, the line of duty, corporations taking over everything. And I'm just gonna stop myself right there before I get too in depth into a review, because when I was watching this, I felt very passionate about how much I didn't like this movie.
Really?
I was thinking about what I wanted to say, and I actually felt angry. Not that the movie is crap. It's just...
No, I've seen far worse.
Yes. I guess, to summarize it, it's not a worthy successor to the RoboCop legacy, but it does attempt it. And I give it credit for that.
Yeah, and I can sort of see where you're coming from. But I mean, I've seen every RoboCop film that's come out, and to me, this is the second best.
And I will agree, yes.
Because, I mean, RoboCop 2, which came out, I don't know when, 90 or something? 1990?
90, 89, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, towards the beginning of the final decade of the last century.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, while it was okay, it felt really lacking, and, well, it had some good ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and we all know how I feel about good ideas.
Yeah, and it also had some good humor, some good satire.
It did. But as a film, RoboCop 2, it felt rather lackluster. And it is very much a product of its time, with being against illegal substances and drugs. And, you know, the war on drugs and all that.
Yeah.
But that's a discussion for another time. RoboCop 3, however...
I haven't seen that one yet, but I have heard of its infamy. Why is it that number 3 movies from in the past just seem to always tank? Why do they always hit that brick wall? You had Spider-Man 3, you had The Godfather 3, and then RoboCop 3.
I don't know. Maybe we can review the other 2 RoboCop films at some point if you guys are interested in that.
Oh, I'm certainly interested. I'm certainly interested. Yeah.
Rant. But I think that with RoboCop 3, it felt like a bad anime, and personal opinion, I'm not a big fan of anime. I'm just not a fan of the art style. I'm aware that there is some good ideas. I did enjoy Avatar, but...
Okay.
I mean, RoboCop 3, it just felt very cringy. It felt like something from... I don't know what was going on in the early 1900... Not 19... yeah. I'm so confused right now, but...
1990s?
1990s. I mean, I'm aware that it came out maybe a year before Jurassic Park, I think. 2 years, maybe?
I'm not quite entirely sure. I'm not quite sure. Let me check. 1993, so the same year.
Yeah, and you can see it in some of the effects, like with their CG. But for me, it just felt extremely lackluster. But for me, the 2014 RoboCop, and like a lot of recent films that have come out that are basically descendants of an earlier film, this introduced me to RoboCop.
Okay.
The same with Tremors 5 and that whole saga. And I saw the trailer, on TV for RoboCop, the 2014 version.
Uh-huh.
And I said, that looks pretty cool. And then when I found out that my grandparents rented it from Redbox, I'm not sponsored, but I saw that and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. So I did some research, trying to find more about the film, because I was into that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
And I realized that it was a remake. So I'm like, okay. So I eventually managed to track down the original, and for me, it's kind of a mixed bag on how I feel about comparing the original to this remake.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, personally, I think that the remake does certain things a bit better than the original. The story, however, it basically does retread it, but I do think that the original handles the story a bit better.
Mm-hmm. Well, alright. And I can kind of agree with that. I think my personal beef with the remake is that looking back on our review of the original one, how we were talking about, it's set in Detroit, and Detroit is kind of a failing town. It's a very crime-ridden town or city, and it felt, and that just kind of made it feel a little bit more real, especially in the original one, because that's again like 20 years after the infamous riots that the city is still healing from. But in the remake, there's hardly any mention of like how bad Detroit is. I mean, all you hear about is just like some drug deals and some corrupt cops. Which that part in the remake, I'm okay with, because yes, we know there are some bad cops.
Yeah. But I think we'll just get to our comparison after we do everything else that we normally do. You want to get to the synopsis?
I think I just gave that one about 5 minutes ago.
Oh.
Yeah, Alex Murphy.
Actually.
Yeah, Alex Murphy.
Yeah, Alex
killed
Murphy
killed in the line of duty, put into a cybernetic suit, becomes a super cop, then tries to solve his own murder.
Yeah, again, basically the plot of the first movie, just with a modern spin.
Mm-hmm. So so why don't we just move on to the actors?
Ooh, I love this. Can I do it, please?
Sure, yes. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna save one for last.
I think I might know who you're talking about.
I think everyone knows who I'm talking about. First, as Alex Murphy, we have Joel Kinnaman. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
I believe that is how you pronounce it. He does a pretty good job. His acting is really awesome. I especially like his reaction to seeing how when the suit is removed, that he's really nothing more than a head, lungs, and a hand.
Pretty much, yeah.
My God, you can just hear how utterly destroyed he is by this revelation.
Oh my gosh, yes. I loved his acting in this film. Props to him. Mm-hmm.
And then of course there's the unemotional side of his performance.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I loved it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, in terms of acting, he does actually match, maybe even in some parts exceed Peter Weller's performance. So I'll give him that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the big role that he's stepping into, and I think he did it pretty well.
Yeah.
Next actor, we have Gary Oldman as Dr. Dennett Norton, Omni Foundation Chief Scientist.
One of our favorite overactors.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't go? Who honestly is very very subdued in this one. Again, he plays this part very well. Everyone really plays this very well. It doesn't feel cheesy, and it doesn't feel so melodramatic.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Michael Keaton as Raymond Sellers, the CEO of Omnicorp.
And a little bit of trivia: these are two Batman actors. These last two that we mentioned: Gary Oldman in the Christopher Nolan trilogy, and of course Michael Keaton played the live-action Batman in 1989. And also, Warner Brothers, if you're listening to this, we would like a Batman Beyond movie with him returning.
I'll tweet the video at them.
Okay.
Next, I'm gonna skip that one for last. Next we have Abby Cornish as Clara Murphy, Alex's wife.
Now, I haven't really seen her in many movies, but again, played it very well.
Yeah, and that's part of why I like this remake, because in the original RoboCop, we got a couple glimpses at his family life, at Alex's family life. This one, we get it. It's one of the front things that we see, and I like that.
Yeah, what the remake seems to do is combine the ideas from both movies, from the first two original movies.
Yeah, and it's not bad. With any major body altering event due to an accident, generally in this instance amputees, there's a lot of emotional trauma that happens, and seeing how not just Alex but the whole family is affected by that really touches home.
Oh yeah. And geez, I had a thought. Oh yeah, I was thinking narratively, this kind of makes the movie flow very well, because there's this little overarching element throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
All right. Next on the list,
we have Jackie Earle Haley. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. As Rick Maddox, a drone controller and automated military tactician expert.
And now I first heard of this guy. He played Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Oh.
So he was all in makeup, and in this one you see what he really looks like, or at least what Hollywood will show him what he looks like.
Yeah, and I think he did a pretty good role in this film.
Oh yeah, he did. He played a pretty good. He did a good job playing a jerk ass.
Oh my goodness, yeah, his introduction scene. I loved his introduction scene.
Which one? You mean the very beginning, or?
Oh yeah, I love the very beginning.
Okay. I kind of like how he's just that he has the guts to just insult Alex Murphy right to his face, given the fact that he's like a whole head taller than him.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I saw that. I'm like, dude. Not smart, but I love it.
Oh, God.
Not to mention his pet name for Alex.
Tin Man.
And seeing as how this was made by the same company who made Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah, 20th Century Fox. So they pretty much saved some money on licensing.
Yeah, I mean, they own that property, and they made several Easter eggs to it.
Let's see, let's see, Tin Man. He plays If I Only Had a Heart during the first simulation.
Yeah, I'm like, it's beautiful when I love it when movies do this so well.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. I think even Gary Oldman's reaction to when he first hears the song, it's it's subtle, but you can tell that he's going, come on.
Part of me wonders if that was like the first take.
Oh, I hope so. First takes of genuine reactions are usually sometimes the best, if done well.
Yeah, I really hope that was the first take.
Mm-hmm. All right, who's next on the list of major players?
We have Michael K. Williams as Jack Lewis, Alex's former partner.
I think
I'm not sure why it says former.
Well, probably because when he got put into the RoboCop program, he's kind of more of a solo act now.
True, yeah. Alright,
so
I'll allow that.
Yeah, so Jack Lewis is the gender-bent and race-flip version of Lewis from the original one. I'm kind of mixed. Yes, Detroit is predominantly black, but there's so this kind of adds a sense of more realism to him, to the film. But why? What was so wrong with what was wrong with the female Lewis character? She was badass.
Yeah, and that's something that I have mixed feelings about. One, I'm glad that the film industry is becoming more realistic and inclusive. But two, why?
Mm-hmm. But to his credit, he does make this character his own. I mean, I honestly love the chemistry that him and Murphy have, especially during the revelation scene about 2/3 in.
Yeah.
No, it's bad cop, RoboCop.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And there's a little race joke as well.
I know.
You know, you're the right color now.
I know.
And now most race jokes are sort of derogatory. This one is awesome.
It's more lighthearted because it's not meant to be negative. We already get the fact that they're not just partners on the force; they're friends.
Yeah,
so this is more like shoulder punching or elbow. Nudge nudge, grin grin, wink wink. Say no more.
Yeah, I love this. I
know.
love that so much.
And given the fact that now in this time we're kind of talking about race is a minefield. Is just a minefield. It feels nice to actually just touch on this subject and not feel horrible about it. To actually look at it more lighthearted, because I really don't know what to say. I mean, the subject does have a lot of negative connotation, but it's not all negative. I mean, if you can look past it, you can go to a brighter future.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what this film does pretty well.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Next, Jennifer. Oh crap! Last name.
L. Let's call her L. Or Ailey.
Ailey L. I apologize.
Yeah.
But Liz Klein, the head of Omnicorp Legal Affairs.
She doesn't have much screen time, not much of a character, but she is one of the Holy Trinity in this RoboCop campaign, with Michael Keaton's Sellers character being number one, and I think in terms of major players, I think this is the person that's last on your list.
Actually, no, but Mr. Jay Baruchel, what are you doing in this movie?
Voice of Hiccup Haddock himself, Jay Baruchel, in this movie.
But, I mean, dude, curse you, DreamWorks. Now I can never see a movie with Jay Baruchel in it because whenever I hear his voice, I physically see Hiccup. Damn you, DreamWorks! You magnificent bastard, you!
Oh boy! But if you want to curse DreamWorks, watch The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Oh, I saw that one too. Yeah. Oh my goodness. But Jay Baruchel, he plays Tom Pope, the head of marketing for Omnicorp.
Did we even actually catch his name in the movie?
Maybe. I didn't, really.
I
might have said Tom. But, like I said, whenever I hear his voice, I physically see Hiccup on the screen.
I know. Oh, God.
But...
It's amazing.
And
he's more of the marketer for Omnicorp. So he's more focused on how RoboCop could appeal to certain demographics,
like children.
And of course we do get some Easter eggs to the original, which is one of my favorite parts, where you get the original design. And he said that really put the fear of God into the inmates.
Yeah.
And of course there's the scene when they're trying to find the right what's the word, subject or patient? I can't think of the right person for this campaign. Candidate, yes, thank you. And First guy is lost all four limbs and is quite pudgy. And he goes, he might have put on a little weight since the accident.
Pass.
Yeah. He's off trying to solve his own murder. Oh, that's genius. Why didn't I think of that?
But yeah, so The Sorcerer's Apprentice and How to Train Your Dragon came out the same year, correct? 2010?
Yes, they did. And funny enough, it both not only did it have Jay Baruchel, but also Alfred Molina, who's the voice of Vigo Grimborn in Race to the Edge.
Mm-hmm. And How to Train Your Dragon 2 and the RoboCop remake came out in 2014.
Oh yeah. Okay, so it's not really that surprising for actors to actually show up in more than one movie in a year.
Yeah.
It's kind of honestly, on the flip side, it's kind of rare for Tom Cruise to show up in more than one movie a year. He only does one movie a year, regularly. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Tom Cruise and his sci-fi religion.
Well, maybe in the future.
Okay, I guess.
Amy Garcia as Jay Kim, a scientist who works with Dr. Dennett Norton.
Andy Garcia? Amy Garcia.
Yeah, Amy.
Amy. I thought I heard Andy on my end. I was like, I don't remember seeing him.
But yeah, Amy Garcia.
Amy Garcia. She's more of she's the assistant to Oldman's character, Dr. Norton.
And she's kind of the voice of reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. Yeah, and honestly, my favorite part with her, the one that actually made her stand out, is when they had to free Alex from Omnicorp, plan to unplug him, for a PR campaign, and Norton tells her to just distract them, and and instead of just stalling for time, what she does is just be loud to gain their attention. I honestly like that. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Next character we have John Paul Rutten as David Murphy, Alex and Clara's son.
David. If it weren't for the fact that I found that this movie was set in the future, I would go, oh, that's my dad as a kid. Although my dad's more of a baseball fan than a hockey fan. But yeah, that's
John did a pretty good job.
Yeah. So I honestly like the interaction between him and his father. And okay, we know that most child actors are not good. And let's also admit it. Macaulay Culkin was not that good as a child actor either. There were some moments, but he doesn't. But with the limited amount of screen time, he was accurately portrayed, a child that's kind of going through some trauma, that just witnessed an event, and someone who really loves his father.
Yeah, and it's really good to see him portray that much emotion. I think he has a bright career ahead of him.
I love the moment that when Alex returns home for the first time after the accident, and he goes towards his son, and David just says, I saved all the Red Wings game, and Alex asks, who won? He responds, I don't know, I wanted to watch them with you.
Aww.
I know. That's accurate. That is a realistic portrayal of a kid who really loves his father and who has that kind of connection with his parent.
Oh my! Yeah, the writing. I praise the writing in this, especially for David. That is such a realistic child, and I love it. Next character, Patrick Garrow as Antoine Vallon.
Oh yes, the bad guy. Unfortunately. Okay, this might. Okay, I'm going to admit this is probably a little bit of nostalgia goggles talking, but I really don't. I don't think the character Antoine Vallon was a really good substitute for Clarence Boddicker.
I can sort of agree. Yeah, I mean,
Clarence.
Vallon gets killed off in what? The end of the second act or something?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
and he wasn't that big of a threat. I mean, he did attempt to kill Alex twice.
Yes, but he doesn't have this commanding. He doesn't have this commanding presence that Kurtwood Smith had. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have the sadistic nature. He doesn't. He just can't hold a candle to the character and the actor who played Clarence Boddicker.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, based on what I've seen throughout my film's experience, he's one of the more lackluster villains that I've seen on screen.
Alright.
I'm not saying he did a bad job. I don't know if it's just his acting or how his character was written.
Yeah, I think it might have something to do more with the writing.
Yeah. But he did alright for the film, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, how about we make this the last character? The one that's actually...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Samuel motherfucking Jackson!
Yes! He doesn't appear for very long in the movie, but who cares? It's Samuel L. Jackson. We automatically remember him.
Yes, yes.
He plays Pat Novak, a TV news host, kind of, sort of like Chris Matthews, Rachel Maddow, or whoever is on Fox News. But it's kind of clear that this is kind of meant to be like a representation of of conservative news hosts, the people in Fox News, who I don't know, because I hardly watch the news. The only reason why I know who the Chris Matthews and Rachel Maddow are because my parents turn on the news.
But yeah, Samuel Jackson.
Oh yeah.
He is a very vocal supporter of mechanized crime control.
Mm-hmm.
And I every one of his lines, even though I think he had less than 5 minutes of screen time in this entire film, every one of his lines, every syllable is pure gold.
Yes, it is, especially the end when he finally uses his catchword.
Yes. Part of me wonders if that was ad-libbed.
It probably. I think it might be. I heard from someone, so it's just hearsay, that the reason why he says "motherfucker" is because he's nervous. So that's something that he does to cope with it.
Yeah. But yeah, he is such a great actor. I mean, the first film I ever saw him in was Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, it was. That was the first movie I saw him in too. And
while I do wish that he didn't die in that film, but it's such a... He did a very good job in this RoboCop remake. And whenever one of his little news segments came up, I very much enjoyed the visual.
Yeah. Alright.
I also enjoyed his hair. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Oh boy. It was.
I think that's it for the characters.
At least the major players.
Yeah. And of course there's the corrupt cops, but meh.
Yeah. Okay, so what should we move on to? What should we move on to next? Should we move on to? Is it still too early to do comparison?
Could you repeat that? You're breaking up.
Oh, sorry. Is it too early to move on to comparisons?
No. I mean, we got through the major characters. I think we can go on to comparisons. I'll look up some stuff here.
Okay. Well, I guess the big question is, does the remake at least hold up? Does it hold up to the original? I think in some respects, yes, but as a whole, it barely gets there.
I can sort of agree, yeah.
When I was thinking about what to say, this is kind of what got me so angry after rewatching this the first time about why I didn't like the remake. But ever since then, I've kind of cooled down. But the reason why I like the original one over the remake is not because of nostalgia goggles. Okay, because I swear on my entire movie collection, I saw these two movies right after each other. Okay? I saw the original first, and then I saw the remake. Same day. Quick succession. But so what I feel like is there's just something missing from this remake, and it's the humor. It's the humor. What the remake does it makes good use of it uses commentary. It still has themes about man and machine, a dig at corporations that they think more about product rather than human lives. But what the original kind of had over the remake is a sense of fun. The humor kind of everyone in the original kind of looked like they were just having fun when the cameras were rolling, and the satire, the humor is also what kind of makes those serious moments punch harder. Such as the scene when RoboCop is dreaming of his murder, when he removes his helmet for the very first time, when he's walking through his old house that is now empty and abandoned. All of those hit hard because of the humorous moments in the original. And the only time that I felt that this remake actually felt like a RoboCop movie were the news segments and the final training sequence with RoboCop in his now black finished suit against about 45 robots and Maddox. And the reason why I like that one is because it's very indicative. It's very modern in its filmmaking. It's stylish. It's smooth. It's fast. But there's this song that plays in the background. It's not a cinematic score. It's like an actual song sung by a person. It's very driving. It's very impactful. And how it ends is kind of funny. Hello.
Yeah, I don't know what he's barking about. Ignore him.
Okay.
No one's here. He's barking at the horses more than likely.
Okay. And so when it's just Murphy and Maddox left, Murphy goes, "Hey Doc, what happens if I tase an exoskeleton with a little asshole in it?" I think we're all interested in that answer, Alex. Tases Maddox, and then he just starts convulsing. That's funny, and that's RoboCop.
Yeah, and I can agree. I mean, this film, it feels a little more serious for some reason. And to be honest, as far as the actual film rating goes, with it being PG-13 and the first one being rated R, I think that in actuality it's just because our times have gotten a little more accepting of the darker stuff. I mean, let's take this RoboCop remake and put it back when the original came out. What sort of rating would it have gotten?
I think it still would have. It probably still would have gotten a PG-13. I'm not quite sure. I think the reason why is because yes, there's some violence and there's some swearing, but what the original had over the remake is blood.
Okay, yeah, I can agree with that. Except I do have to make a slight suggestion. Jaws. What do you think Jaws is rated? You can't look this up.
Jaws. What is Jaws rated? Let's see. I definitely know for a fact that PG-13 wasn't invented until the Temple of Doom, and that was suggested by Spielberg. That came out around the 80s. Jaws came out in 1975, so I guess it probably could be an R rating.
It's actually rated PG.
Oh. That was my second choice.
So, I mean, your statement does have some merit, John, but I think it really would actually just depend on how it's being rated, because aside from some slight things that the film industry has been able to work out, we don't really know how films are rated. They're done by some obscure faction of the government.
That is true.
I mean, as far from what I've been able to work out, in most PG-13 ratings, this is just a small tidbit, you can drop one F-bomb if it's not used in a sexual, connotation.
Yep.
Other sorts of swearing is allowed, but it depends on, how it's used and, or some violence count and type of violence. It's really ambiguous aside from some key points that we've been able to pull out.
Right. But I kind of think that the reason why there was a PG-13 rating, according to IMDb, there is also a reason why. But I also think that's kind of also indicative of our culture, that we kind of want things a little bit more, safe, not scary or graphic. Because in the 80s, it was all about that.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Where then, by the time the 90s came around, there was definitely a shift. There was a shift away from that. We wanted things to be a little bit more kid friendly, a little less offensive.
All right. What does IMDb say about it?
IMDb says that the director Jose, I think it's Padilla. I can't pronounce that.
Hold on, I speak hablo español. Uno momento. Jose Padilla, I believe.
Padilla.
Yeah, Padilla. The H in Spanish is silent.
Okay. So director Padilla and Joel Kinnaman, who played RoboCop, apparently they fought hard to try to get an R rating, but that's because the movie was continuing to go over budget. It was originally $60 million, and then it went to $100 million. The executives were forced to deliver a PG-13 rating, because they were hoping that the rating could help recoup the money that they spent on the movie.
Wider audience.
So, and apparently that throughout the entire production, the executives were keeping a close eye on Padilla to make sure that he was going to give a PG-13 rating.
Okay. That makes sense.
And Padilla has even gone on record saying of how it was kind of a very horrible experience, because he kind of felt like because he didn't feel like he had any kind of creative control over this movie.
Okay. I can sort of see where he's coming from. It's basically Alien 3 all over again. But, slight flash forward it a bit, jumping out of RoboCop for a sec. Stay tuned for April. We got something planned. But, yes. RoboCop is...
it definitely feels a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more safe in return in comparison to the original. I mean, honestly, now, depending on how you look at it, this can be seen as a good thing or a bad thing. I think maybe because of the PG-13 rating, because there's kind of less graphics and less gore, it kind of makes the reveal of what is left of Murphy all that more shocking.
I agree, yeah.
But again, I guess the hyper violence of the original is kind of what gives the original its identity. So again, take it for what you will. Let's see.
You want to go on to music?
I still feel like there's just a lot more that we can talk about in terms of comparing the remake to the original. I guess. How about the corporations?
Yeah. In the original film, we have Omni Consumer Products.
Mm-hmm. Basically, this mega conglomeration that owns the hospitals, and they own the police force. This
space exploration too.
Space exploration as well. Okay. In the remake, they just have military contracts. And they want to, I think now they want to go into law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
But
except actually OCP did get name dropped.
Yeah, at the end. Yeah.
Apparently they're a parent corporation?
Yeah, OCP's the parent corporation. So that just kind of adds a lot of confusion. I guess. Does that mean that the old RoboCop is part of canon, or is that just an Easter egg?
Presently, I would consider it an Easter egg. If we do get a sequel to this film, I'd like them to touch up on that more.
Okay.
Like, say the original RoboCop and that huge fiasco with the sequels had to be like buried and just forgotten with time. And then technically this RoboCop would be basically Jurassic World, like a revitalizing of it.
I don't know. I think with the recent Halloween sequel, I think they could probably just ignore the next two films. But anyway, it kind of but this movie does kind of tame this corporate a little bit, because in the original, OCP, they owned the police force. So whoever died in the line of duty could be used for their purposes in the future. That's how Alex Murphy was put into the suit in the first place. With this one, his wife had to give consent to use his body for this program, so it kind of downplays their power a bit.
Yes, but I think that also adds a bit more realism.
Yes. A little bit more realism. Honestly, what I did kind of like was how was Samuel L. Jackson's segments. It's kind of clear that he's meant to represent, conservative talk show hosts, people of Fox News. But it's kind of funny how a lot can change in 4 years, because his language, his rhetoric, is kind of what you hear on Facebook from the very far left, like the uber left, the ones that go full horseshoe. You know, using words like robophobic. Which honestly, the moment I heard that, I was laughing. Or asking, has America become pro-crime? It's linguistic manipulation. Spooky language. Spooky language! And honestly, that kind of makes this commentary a little bit more ambiguous. Yes, he definitely looks and acts like a far right, well, either Glenn Beck or Bill O'Reilly, but the language is definitely something I've heard from the left. So I think in terms of that, it's aged pretty well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Of course, yeah. I can't really fault this movie for also being a product of its times. Showing scenes of in an Islamic country, because the original RoboCop also was a product of its time. Everything definitely looked 80s, and this one, everything feels like a futuristic 2000s or 2010s. Let's see. I think honestly, what I liked about the original was that the news segments were just kind of gave you an indication of what the world is like. It didn't have to go into in-depth viewing of Mexico or any of the other countries or even Russia. This one, the remake, in the first 8 minutes, we not only see Tim Novak, Samuel L. Jackson's character, but we're also taken to Tehran, and we're seeing this apparently routine inspection, and then finally after 8 minutes, title shows up.
Yep.
And I'm kind of like, did I? And it's kind of like, it's like, that's kind of a long time for just the title to come up. But again, it's a product of its time. We kind of want a little bit, we need a little bit more depth in these movies. Whereas in the 80s, it was kind of like movie start, there's title, production logos, RoboCop, there, movie starts, get on with it.
Yeah, I can agree. Although, with the title card, comes amazing music.
Yeah, they modernized the theme a bit. Well, not a bit, a lot.
A lot, yeah, and for me, I rather enjoyed that.
You can still tell it's the original. I mean, they didn't change.
Yeah.
They didn't change it too much.
Yeah, they're basically Jurassic World, the original Jurassic Park score.
Yeah.
That's my analogy, anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, me being ending, I forget how many years I spent in high school band. 7 years, I think it was.
You were in high school for 7 years?
No, like band. Like middle school and high school.
Okay.
I just want it clear through.
Okay.
But I enjoyed going through and picking out each of the instruments, and from what I noticed, there was a lot of strings.
Mm-hmm.
Like violins and basses, and it was a lot of strings, as well as some like deep brass, low brass.
Oh yeah. and yeah, I mean, there are a lot of Easter eggs in the remake that do pay tribute to the original one. And also there's some that you actually do have to, that apparently you have to Google to kind of get the reference, or go to IMDb.
What you mean, like? You mean like Alex's hand?
You don't have to Google that. You just have to watch the original. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, but we'll get to that soon. We're now onto the music. Honestly,
yes.
The music just doesn't stand out, aside from the original theme.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that stood out was, again, the song that played during the final training sequence. And of course, If I Only Had a Heart.
I have to disagree. I mean, I could be a little bit slightly biased because this was the first RoboCop film I did see, so maybe that just sticks with me more.
Okay.
But I mean, I really did enjoy the music, and I do listen to it on occasion.
Okay.
So, really, I think it just depends how you like music and what you expect from it.
I guess. I think the reason why, since I grew up in the 90s and also saw movies from the 80s, that I expect music to have actually a lot of notes to play, whereas the score nowadays, it's just got to be one long note that then goes into another one. You know, think of Hans Zimmer's theme for Batman in the Nolan trilogy. I mean, I can't remember the whole thing except for a few notes that goes. Just that build-up. Now, but the Danny Elfman score, and of course, and like I said, and like you said, Ian, I might be a little bit biased too. There's a lot of notes where it goes dun 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 dun. So I guess that's the kind of music that I'm used to.
Well, we can't really fault each other for having different tastes. I mean, I am basically one generation behind you.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that's our thoughts on the music.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly differing opinions, but meh.
Yeah. To each their own.
Yep.
Now let's see. What should we go on to next?
We got cinematography here.
Cinematography, I'm kind of a little mixed on this.
I can agree.
I'm a little mixed on this. But again, this is a movie that's a product of its time, so the most popular filming style is the handheld run-and-gun style. So, where it's the camera's not on a tripod, it's not on a dolly, it's actually being supported by two legs and a shoulder. And so you get a little bit of a handheld movement, and thematically it's supposed to add another sense of realism to a film. And honestly, I think they make too much use of it. I mean, wouldn't some of the shots, from Alex's POV, or just when we're following Alex, when he's all RoboCop, I think it kind of would have worked better if the camera was smoother, to kind of to give this like automatic feel, this machine-like vibe to it.
I can agree.
Mm-hmm. But like the only time there's actually any kind of smooth motion, and again this is indicative of the style, is of course the long one takes, especially when they're in the Omnicore boardroom. Let's see, like when they're when it's the executives, they're talking about what can we do about this bill, and it starts out from like the very first one. It starts out with on a screen of charts and graphs, pulls back to reveal Jay's character, continues to pull back to reveal Jennifer's character. Then we see the back of Michael Keaton's character, and it just continues moving and moving. That's a very modern style of filming, and of course it does make good use of switching of the angles. If we start over with Keaton, we start on Keaton's right shoulder, and then it tracks left to over his right shoulder, and that's when we get the shift in ideas.
Yeah, you're right.
Other than that, the cinematography is pretty standard.
Yeah.
Of course,
nothing groundbreaking, but
not groundbreaking. But that doesn't mean there's not some shots that actually stand out, such as the Dutch angle when Alex Murphy, or I guess RoboCop, after his treatment, when he finds the drug dealer in the back of an alley who's totally stoned. Which, by the way, I can't believe that the computer decides to put "totally" in its vocabulary.
Hey, it's the future.
It's totally stoned. But you see both the drug dealer and RoboCop, and they're at a very odd angle. So it's a
the low shot.
Mm-hmm, a low shot, and they're all tilted. It is a way to get them both in frame, but also I guess in a way to try to also show just how intimidating that RoboCop is, because let's not forget, he's a tall bastard.
Yeah.
But other than that,
let's see here. What else you got from me, Wikipedia? Going in with the release of it, like how it was received. Apparently, to coincide with the home media releases, quote from Wikipedia. Detroit celebrated with RoboCop Day on June 3rd, 2014, during which RoboCop was photographed with fans throughout the city and threw the first pitch at the Detroit Tigers game.
That's nice.
Reception. In the U.S., it grossed little over 21.5 million. And ultimately it earned domestically about 58.6 million.
Okay.
And internationally it brought in 184 million, a little more than that.
Okay, so it was able to make about $230 million worldwide to at least cover. So it brought in twice its film budget, but then that also means there's probably there's an extra 130 million that has to they have to at least deduct advertising out of.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a decent bit of advertising here. Like an Omnicorp website was set up in early 2012.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so...
Alright.
Yeah.
Let's see, of course there's the trailers and TV spots. I wonder if there was social media.
Let me... there was a video game for Android and iOS.
Oh, yeah.
There's action figures, radio-controlled stuff, and roleplay merchandise, which I actually haven't seen ever.
Oh.
And... yeah, that's really it.
Okay,
Oh, there were one-shot comic tie-ins as well, so... But nothing on social media, at least here.
Okay. Alright, what should we move on to next?
You want to just go to critical reception?
Let's see, how about... sure, and then, let's move on to the Easter eggs.
Okay. Quote, RoboCop received mixed reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we pretty much said that already.
Yeah.
On review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes, take for that what you will, the film has an approval rating of 49% based on 191 reviews and an average rating of 5.6 out of 10. The site's critical consensus reads, quote, while it's far better than it could have been, Jose Padilla's RoboCop remake fails to offer a significant improvement over the original. On Metacritic, which assigns a weighted average based on selected critic reviews, the film has a score of 52 out of 100 based on 41 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. On CinemaScore, audience gave the film a B+ grade on an A+ to F scale.
And on IMDb, it has a user score of 6.2 out of 10 based on 201,582 users. So, alright.
So, I mean, I can sort of see where they're coming from.
Let's see. Well, I can understand. There are some points where the film doesn't improve on. I think that the whole no use of humor or any kind of satire or what little there is might feel like a step back. Especially since this came out in 2014, I think this was also the year that ISIS became a problem. I think that the humor could have just been a good way for us to at least step back away from the real world. Not to just fully escape it, but just to at least calm us down a bit. What I do think was improved upon was at least adding a little bit more depth to at least the backstory of Murphy, and even the effects, the results, and repercussions of of this whole process.
Yeah. Oh, apparently there's a canceled sequel and reboot.
A canceled sequel and a canceled reboot?
There's a small section here. Canceled sequel and reboot.
Oh, yeah.
On September 11th, 2015, Denim Geek reported that Sony was working on a sequel. However, in July of 2018, recently, it was announced the series would again be rebooted with a film directed by Neil Blomkamp titled RoboCop Returns, which will serve as a sequel to Verhoeven's original film and ignore the events of previous sequels and the 2014 reboot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. I guess I subconsciously remember that. Neil Blomkamp. He's the guy that was behind I think District 9, Chappie, and Elysium. So the idea of man versus machines, this seems like this is his cup of tea. Let's see, I wonder if he also did Blade Runner 2049. Nope, Dennis Villeneuve. Okay. That he did Blade Runner 2049, which I have to see. But again, this also seems like the kind of genre for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm open to seeing what he can do with this.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's a sequel to the original and ignore all other RoboCop films, I'm rather interested in films like that because there's been talk throughout the internet over the past couple years of a sequel to James Cameron's Aliens film that would ignore all the other sequels and all the prequels and would just go right after the second Alien film.
I heard about that. I think that one actually was canceled.
It has been canceled. However, concept art has been released by the would-be director, and it's garnered a lot of support. However, I don't think Ridley Scott is willing to give up his precious baby.
And let's see, I think I also heard that there was going to be another Terminator movie that was actually going to take place was going to be a sequel to the second one. So it was going to ignore Rise of the Machines, Salvation, and Genesis. Of course,
I'm open to it.
Of course, that was like months ago, and I don't know if I might be giving misinformation. Anywho.
Yeah, anywhoozy. Would I be open to the RoboCop Returns by Mr. Blomkamp? Potentially, yes.
I would be too.
I mean, I'm open to seeing what he could do with it. However, I am hesitant as well. I mean, I'm always hesitant when something like this comes up.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, like, after a few months after Jurassic World came out, I'm like, okay, I know they're planning another movie. Do I want that to happen? Because, I mean, Jurassic World for me was great. And I didn't want to see the series go into another 14-year hiatus. So, I mean, yes, I am open to reboots and alternate sequels. However, I do think that they need to be handled carefully.
Yes. And I agree.
Because, I mean, RoboCop it's a story about a lot of things, and its ultimate message is primarily one of hope. Like, hope that tomorrow's going to be better, and that... How do I put this into words? Like... that good cops do exist, and that they generally do fight for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And I think in this day and age, we need stories like RoboCop now more than ever.
Absolutely, and I agree. And with a sequel, like what did you call it? Like an alternate sequel?
That's the only term that I think I could describe it, because, I mean, you have the official sequel, and then you have this alternate sequel.
I think...
which I guess goes on a different timeline.
Yeah. I think maybe with an alternate sequel, this could also now... this can now bring, this can also modernize it the right way, and actually maybe give us a black RoboCop. And that gives potential for so much more commentary.
Or a female RoboCop.
That too.
And I mean with something like RoboCop, I mean, there's so much you could do with it. However, whether you do it well or not is basically up to the studio and the director and everybody working on it.
Yes. And it's also it's also up to what is it that they want? Do they want to tell a story with some substance, or do they want to make a quick buck, like what this remake ultimately was?
That is a good question. I mean, yeah, there's no link for RoboCop Returns. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens with that. And if it eventually does get made, you can count on me and John to review that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think we're starting to run out of steam here. You want to go on for our rating for RoboCop 2014?
We still got a lot more to talk about.
Okay.
Like, remember the Easter eggs?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs, like little references to the original RoboCop. Of course, they do. We do get to see the original armor during one of the, for the one that put the fear of God into the inmates. And of course, there's also the the surviving right hand. We kind of know in the original that was lost. Let's see. Ian, did you catch the "I wouldn't buy that for $1"?
I did. I laughed at that one. Wouldn't buy that for $1.
Yeah, and that's a reference to the sitcom within the in-movie sitcom where the punchline is that I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that little Easter egg. That was great.
Let's see. Of course, there's also the Ed 209s,
which got an overhaul on the design. I love that.
And
there's also Dead or Alive, You're Coming With Me.
Oh yeah. Even the ending is sort of kind of a reference to the ending of the original. Dick Jones ordered a chopper to get him out of here while having the old man, I think that was his official name in the first movie, hostage. At the end of the remake, Sellers actually does get to the helipad, but the chopper doesn't make it. Actually, he doesn't get to the chopper. He doesn't get to the chopper. While holding Murphy's family hostage, and again is shot.
And there's a lot of callbacks, and of course there's also a parallel. It's not really a reference, but a parallel. Red assets.
How's okay? Oh, you mean how they can't? They're not programmed to hurt red assets?
That is correct.
Which again is kind of spoiled in the very beginning, because Maddox in Tehran, he says, no red asset has ever been lost. And I was like, okay, gonna put that marker there.
Yeah, safety is top priority. So there's that, which I can see why they did that. I mean, they wanted a modern take, but it doesn't always... I feel like they could have done something different.
Yeah.
Or just removed that factor entirely and...
Or
made it a bit...
Or kind of made it so, like, maybe there was kind of malfunction that actually turned the red asset green. Because again, it's kind of mixed. On the one hand, I liked that at the end it seemed that Murphy's will was actually stronger than the program, which is also kind of a reference to the original one and how RoboCop had Boddicker in the palm of his hands, and then lets him go because it was either his programming, you know, the third directive, or it was his sense of duty. This one, it's definitely a little bit more, what's the obvious of what it was. It definitely was Murphy's sense of will that overwrote the program. And I said overwrote this time, not overwrit.
John, your white trash was showing.
It was showing. I'm never gonna... That'll always be my embarrassment.
It'll be an inside joke now on the channel.
But I still kind of would have liked it. Maybe if there was like a little malfunction, or if Norton just decided to, you know, flip the switch, because again, the whole movie is kind of about how machines make everything better. Machines are incorruptible, where cops can be bribed and bought. Machines help save lives of American soldiers. But you introduce the human element, then again machines are only as good as the people who wield them. So, again, take it what you will. If you, I mean, it's not the most horrible climax to an ending, but it is still keeping with the theme of man and machine.
Yeah.
And, also, did you notice that there's the statue in Sellers' penthouse? It actually kind of looks a little like the RoboCop armor.
I did notice that, yeah. Which again, is this a sequel or not?
I really have no idea. Alright. And, okay, now, these little Easter eggs, this is something that you have to go on to IMDb for. Which I have on my tablet right now. Now, Gary Oldman's character, his name is Dr. Dennett Norton. Now, apparently, this is actually the last name of, and I'm quoting IMDb, this is the last name of philosopher Daniel Dennett, who is famous for his work on consciousness and free will, both of which are key themes in the movie. Daniel Dennett argues that consciousness is an illusion created by layers of physical and chemical processes, and that consciousness is essentially computational. He nonetheless argues that his view is compatible with the idea of free will. And there's
Okay.
and remember the final training sequence when he's explaining to Sellers and Klein about how Murphy can now move faster. He's not hesitating anymore. He's saying that he essentially the software now bypasses the internal decisions, so that it kind of makes Alex think that he's really making decisions, when really he's just along for the ride. And further punctuated by the illusion of free will. That's... I feel like if the movie was kind of more of... I don't know. I guess that's why there's another reason why this movie is so mixed, is because these themes, which are so ever present in the original, are kind of taking a little bit of a backseat to Michael Bay style of filmmaking.
Yeah, I can agree. Yeah, that I have to disagree with that direction of choice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the choice of direction.
Yeah. And now, but that's the thing. There is a lot of good ideas in this remake, but I feel like if you want a movie that is all serious about the idea of consciousness and AI, free will and a soul and all that, I suggest watching the original Ghost in the Shell, the 90s anime movie. That kind of tackles that subject a little more in depth. But if you just want to see a man become a machine and do all this fantastic stuff, then yeah, this is the movie for you. Let's see. Now, one last thing that I would like to say, and that is the design of the RoboCop suit.
Ah, yes.
Well, okay. My only little beef with this is that it shows a little too much. It shows a little too much of Alex's face. Not enough of the visor going down, because when that's down, whether it's in the original gray and black or when it's just all black and that red line, he looks freaking awesome.
Oh my goodness, yes, that. I mean, that's kick-ass right there.
No kidding. But when
I want to cosplay as that, and I want a fully mechanical visor.
But when it's up, and you can see when you can see just his face, I don't know. There's this odd look, like you're seeing a human face on a mostly mechanical body. Now, granted, yeah, that's how it was in the original. However, you can kind of tell that Murphy's face was stretched over a mechanical face. In the remake, it's all the shells and and the mechanisms are covering his original face. So it's not really morbid in a way.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah.
But like I said, when that visor is down and all you can see is the mouth, you know, Batman style, he looks freaking awesome.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And not to mention very modern as well.
Yeah, it's very sleek, very slim, in direct contrast to the bulkiness and very 80s design of the original one.
And the gray suit as well. That seems fairly bulky as well.
Yeah. And let's see. And I don't know. Do you think maybe his performance could have been enhanced by an actual, mechanical robot voice?
In some ways, yes. Like, say, when actual computers took over and his voice just turned into a bit of a robotic tone to it.
Yeah,
I think that would have worked.
Yeah, when his dopamine levels were brought down to 2%.
Yeah, and
he goes full Hal. I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
Yeah, that I really think they could have put in a robot voice there, and that would have worked.
Although I think the overall bass tone of it kind of helps counteract that. I think if it was just over mechanical, it probably would have sounded a little too cheesy.
Oh yeah, I see your point there. Yeah. I mean, we're not used to hearing somebody speak in such a straight monotone voice, no emotion whatsoever, and to see something that looks and used to act human just go into that, that hits right in the uncanny valley.
Oh yeah. And now let's see. I think the reason why the mechanical voice kind of worked in the original one is because Peter Weller was at a slightly higher pitch. It wasn't as deep as Kinnaman's. So yeah, again, just like everything else, take what you will. I can kind of see why this movie is so very mixed, because it's not going to appeal to everyone, but it will appeal to some. So I wouldn't be surprised if this movie does gain kind of a cult following.
Yeah, I mean, it's only, 4 years old now?
4 years, yeah.
So, I mean, just give it, 10 more years and we might see it have a very big following.
Yeah. Some people might even think it can probably be as good as the original.
Yeah, that's what time does to movies.
Let's see. God, I almost. Now
more design.
I remembered another thing. How did you feel about RoboCop running and jumping?
Well, this takes place a couple decades into the future, so
currently,
actually, exactly 1 decade into the future from now.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I rather enjoyed it because I mean, even though we're still struggling to get robots to walk like humans.
Well, I think the closest that I've seen is that robot dog that you just can't knock down.
Oh my goodness, yeah, quadrupeds are a lot easier to make.
But bipeds, Not so much. There's a whole balancing issue.
Humans just compensate that by being a straight killer.
Honestly, when he first starts running, in that lab, and there's all those people in the pink lab suits, it kind of looked funny. Like there was no sense of bobbing up and down. He was just straight level. Like it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah.
But then when he gets outside, and he starts running, that's when you get kind of that little subtle moving left to right. But his head is kind of still level, and I kind of feel like, yeah, that's how a robot would run.
What, straight camera? And
no, not straight.
Just constantly adjusting.
Not a straight camera. Like the camera would be at the same height, but it would be going like left to right. Because we're talking about a biped.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about a biped. So weight has to shift from left foot to right foot.
Yeah.
Jumping.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I still think that robots, they're still a little too heavy for jumping and running. So for this one, it's still you do have to suspend your disbelief to actually to get into this. Whereas.
Yeah. When in the final trading sequence with the black suit on, he's dodging bullets and just like vaulting over low walls and diving out of the way of bullets behind a wall. That seems a little too human for me.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that, but again, looking at it from a critical and scientific perspective, I have to take note that we are not at that capability yet, and I don't think we will be there in at least 20 years instead of the 10.
Yeah, whereas in the original, it was RoboCop was just bulky and heavy, so he would walk very slow, and that feels a little bit more. That does feel more realistic. Also, the slow moving, especially, it does kind of add more to the intimidating factor when dealing with bad guys.
Yeah.
So it's like a zombie, only you're not everyone is a victim. Only people who commit crimes.
Yeah.
All right. I got nothing. I got nothing left. Except I guess there was a good use of modern technology. I think that's the one thing that this movie does make good use of how we're all connected to the electronic grid, internet, security, closed circuit TV cameras. So it's so making RoboCop kind of like connected to all the cameras of Detroit is a good way to actually modernize the character.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking that before I started doing YouTube as a hobby, I thought, what could I review? And one of my thoughts turned to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and how that is a movie you can never remake. You can never modernize it.
Oh my goodness, no. I watched that in film class in high school, and I watched that, I'm like, you can't do this anymore.
No.
I mean, we have cameras everywhere.
Our phones and tablets have GPSs. Cars can be low-jacked. And
not to mention satellite imaging.
Oh yeah, and let's not forget the most damning modern practice ever: selfies.
Oh my goodness, yes.
If Ferris Bueller was actually modernized to today, he would immediately be probably suspended or expelled, given the number of absences, just after taking a selfie.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Instagram's a bitch. But yeah, it... Also, not to mention the actual security in schools now. I mean, I'm not sure what sort of security systems were in schools were like during the 80s. But in these days, you need to be a professional hacker to get into the school system and change the grades, for one. And two, you kind of need, the actual parent to go into the school and sign you out. You cannot just have your parent call and say, hey, I'm going to pick up my kid outside the school. And the teacher cannot say, all right. The parent has to go in and sign the student out. I mean, and I just graduated, so I know all this. I mean, once you're 18, you technically can sign yourself out, because we had you could go to school for so long, and then you would go off to work. I mean, that was a program that was at my school, so. But Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and I guess by extension, the original RoboCop, you could not pull that off.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could pull that off, but in this remake of RoboCop, and by extension, Modern Life, good luck.
So like we said, there's some good ideas, actually good ways to actually modernize RoboCop and actually kind of give it an alternate identity. But I think with the remake, it kind of fell short because again, since RoboCop is the original one was so important to was so iconic to popular culture, it already has an established identity, and so to kind of go against that is not gonna be agreed with wholeheartedly at first.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm running out of steam. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm running out of steam as well.
Oh, design of the other robots. I mean, we did RoboCop. Should we talk about the other design?
I guess they're kind of just generic robots of the 2010s. The Ed 209s look very militaristic and tank-like, as opposed to the ones in the original that kind of actually looked more like trucks or vans, or even the cars. Actually,
yeah.
No, Ed 209s, they look like monster trucks with legs. And what were they? EN 208s? EM?
EM 208. EM.
EM were kind of like, if you've ever seen iRobot, the ones before the white ones.
Yeah. Although I do have to say, the special effects of prosthesis, the medical area, where the man with the prosthetic arms playing the guitar,
yes.
That was beautifully done.
it was beautiful. Yeah, we could obviously tell it was CGI, but you know, it was composited very well. That it did move like hands, and it does kind of set up this theme of can a computer actually compute emotion? Not really. So so with a guitar player, you know, or just music in general, was actually a good way to introduce that idea.
Yeah. Although personally, I do wish we got more of the aerial drones.
More of the aerial drones? Oh,
yeah.
I don't think there was enough money in the budget for a Die Hard 4 battle with an aerial drone. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised. I think Die Hard 4 actually is owned by Fox as well. So maybe that was an idea that must have been an idea that the director pitched. Studio said no, but they went, you know, that is kind of a good idea. We should probably use that in another movie. How about a Bruce Willis one? Done.
But yeah, I mean, RoboCop 2014, it's good for what it is.
Yeah.
You want to go on to ratings?
Sure. Let's see. I guess alright, so it's not a horrible remake. It does have some good ideas. Just terrific acting and very well casted. How did we do the old rating? Was it out of 10 or out of 5?
Out of 10.
Out of 10. I get... I give it maybe a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I have to say the same. That's what I was thinking, because it's pretty good for what it is and when it was made.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously not as good story-wise as the original film.
Right.
The original film had a very similar story, but it seemed to do it a lot better.
And
however, as far as being more in line with modern ideas, modern trends, and just overall how we view people that have gone through horrific accidents, I think this does it a bit better.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's also important to note that while we do like the original RoboCop more, it too had its flaws. Some of the visual effects are definitely dated, but they have their charm. And the same can be said for the remake. Yeah, they're more CGI, but they're also made to be they're also composited to be a little bit more realistic. So in terms of visual effects, this does improve on the original.
But yeah, I think overall 7.5 is where we will both rank it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think that's it, unless you have any last final thoughts.
No, I got none.
All right, then thank you all for tuning in to Nerd-Vana for this month. This has been really fun so far, doing all these reviews with John, and I can't wait to do more.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to wish you all a happy holiday. And I'd like to wish myself a happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ian.
Thank you. this is actually going out on my birthday.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Thanksgiving as well, so I'm gonna go eat pie now.
So are you gonna have cake with your turkey?
Nope, pie.
Okay.
I get a whole pie to myself, whole pumpkin pie.
Alright. Well, yes, thanks again all for listening, and also tune in next month for a very special Christmas review.
I'm scared. I'm really, really scared.
See you then.